Good evening, friends. We are at the fag end of today's program. My topic of discussion would be phase contrast imaging. MR imaging is a comprehensive tool. We could look at the form of the heart, the morphology, function of the ventricles, the atria, the valves, flows across the great arteries, and we could also characterize the myocardial tissue. Now, it is a multimodality, multifunctional tool with internal validation, and hence it can be a very comprehensive tool to evaluate the moving functioning heart. Now, what do we mean by internal validation? Data obtained must be consistent, whatever be the sequence used. Volume data in both the right and the left ventricles should be the same and consistent. The volume data must be consistent with the flow data that is generated. Now, we have a bouquet of sequences that we could mix and match and choose to do cardiac MR imaging. And today's topic would be phase contrast imaging. What is phase contrast imaging? The moving protons which is contained within the blood acquires a phase shift compared to the stationary protons in a magnetic gradient. This phase shift could be measured, and it is directly proportional to the velocity of the moving blood. So if velocity is encoded into it, that could be reliably used to measure the volume of blood flow through vessels. And the earlier machines needed calibration, increasing the time of scanning. Nowadays, you do not need any calibration. And this amplifies the advantages of MR imaging. Now, this is a cartoon which shows the phase shift that happens to moving protons within a magnetic gradient field. And if you could subtract the phase of the moving protons from the stationary protons, we arrive at a value, and that value can be manipulated to give us the flow across vessels. These are the typical images that are generated during a velocity encoded imaging session. The one on the left side is the anatomy image, which is the magnitude image, which can clearly show the structures. And the one on the right is the phase image, which we use to evaluate flow amounts. Black and white denote the flows are in opposite direction. Now, we could use either prospective or retrospective gating and its own advantages and disadvantages. We could also do this imaging with either free breathing or breath hold. And free breathing images are very useful in small children who are not anesthetized and ventilated, and also in children and adults who are finding it difficult to hold their breath, especially if they are in congestive cardiac failure. Now, the reliability of flow images have been demonstrated even in the initial stages of MR development, and now they have only gotten better. Now, when comparing Doppler flow to MR flow assessment, Doppler flow imaging always assumes that the velocity across the whole vessel is constant, which it is not. Whereas in MR imaging, we could individually select each pixel and find out the flow across it. Whereas Doppler images could give a real-time flow, which is a real great advantage. MR images are generated as an average of many heartbeats. So we could not get real-time images. The steps to obtain velocity encoded images: decide on what vessel to estimate, obtain the plane which is perpendicular to the flow that is being estimated, decide on a velocity to encode the data. We could either use Doppler velocity from an echocardiogram or use velocity scout images, and decide on what kind of gating and if it's breath hold or non-breath hold. Now, this is the way to get a double oblique view to get a perfect flow. Here the aortic flow is being assessed, a 3-chamber view and a perpendicular view across the LVOT is obtained, and a plane which or perpendicular to both of them is obtained to get the flow images, and we could delineate the flow across the aorta. Now, these are the two types of flow images: in plane and through plane. In plane is assessing flow in its longitudinal axis, we will never be able to get a quantification, and through plane is to quantify flow. Now, what are the common pitfalls of flow imaging? Mismatched encoding velocity. If it is too low, you get aliasing. If it's too high, the flow's estimation would be inaccurate. The plane, if it is not appropriate, we could have an incorrect measurement. Inadequate temporal resolution, inadequate spatial resolution, a turbulent flow, and if there are pulsation artifacts. Sometimes you could have even phase offset errors, which are errors involving both the stationary and the moving spins. Now, what are the clinical applications of flow estimation? Flows across the vessels. We could estimate the collateral flow in a pre-Fronton assessment or in coarctation of aorta. The differential flow between the two pulmonary arteries, quantification of shunts, valve and conduit stenosis regurgitation assessment, in-plane flow to detect shunts, or the latest 4D flow to assess flow pattern. Flow assessment is invaluable in validating our volume data, as volume data is generated by a different kind of sequence and flow by a different kind of sequence. If they correlate with each other, we are very, very confident of our quantification. Now, some examples where flow estimation have been very useful. Here is a boy, 9-year-old, with doctor parents who are very anxious, and they have seen many doctors in the Middle East, and it was doubtful whether ASD closure would be useful. Now, with MR imaging, with a consistent flow and volume data of a QPQS of 2:1, it was recommended for ASD closure. Atrioventricular valve regurgitation jets are not in a single plane, so they cannot be assessed directly. So they are assessed by subtracting the great arterial flow from the ventricular stroke volumes. Here is an example of mitral regurgitation assessment. The left ventricular stroke volume was 134 ml. The aortic forward flow, which was 49 ml per heartbeat, which is consistent with the pulmonary artery flow. So the regurgitant amount is 85 ml, which is 65% of the left ventricular stroke volume, which is severe and is recommended for surgical treatment. In tetralogy of Fallot after treatment, apart from the volume data which is obtained by cine images, flow data is obtained directly looking at the regurgitant fraction, and this can be used to decide whether to do something about pulmonary regurgitation or not. Now, a few words on recent development in flow. We could also assess flow in all the three spatial directions at the same time and all through the cardiac cycle. Using the obtained 4D data, we could clearly generate pictures like this, showing the stress points of the great vessels. Here is a picture of bicuspid valve with swirling blood within the ascending aorta causing its dilatation. We could also generate pictures like this. These are 4 snapshots during a cardiac cycle of the atrium and ventricle. And the blood pools are color coded according to what they do during the cardiac cycle. The green points are the ones who come in during diastole, and all of them get out during systole. The yellow points come into the ventricle, but they do not get out during that cardiac cycle. The red points were always within the ventricle, they never get out, they never came in, they never went out. And the blue points were the residual blood which was present from the previous cardiac cycle get out of the ventricle during the ventricular systole. To conclude, phase contrast imaging should be an integral part of every CMR imaging session. It is an invaluable tool in internal validation of the CMR data generated and has a special place in structural heart disease like a shunt lesion, and new innovative tools like 4D flow help us to understand the flow pattern and plan management accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you for your excellent lecture and